Really is crazy that they let Yoko Shimomura cook this hard on this OST. I still have it as a crazy conspiracy theory of mine that this OST is what inspired uh, Akira Yamaoka to make the Silent Hill 2. Well, not to make, but in the Silent Hill 2 OST. And the Silent Hill OST as a whole. We'll get into it, but it's so viscerally different from almost everything else that was out at that time. We'll get started here in a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and finish off the rest of my coffee and just enjoy that before we jump in. Coffee before a horror game isn't exactly like, I know, the best idea in the world, but calms me down, so. Oh, man. You know what? Go ahead and jump in now. I think it's about time. Yeah, what's up, Naomi? Naomi, remind me, you've never played like Parasite Eve, have you? I can't remember. Well, then you're in for a treat. I know for a fact you've. I mean, we've talked about it enough at this point. I feel like you're definitely familiar enough with Yoko Shimomura, but I don't think you've ever heard this OST. Yeah, definitely in a couple of YouTube videos because this OST is like that legendary, especially of the time. But you know what? Enough talking about it. Let's go ahead and just jump into it, right? So let's get started. First, the sound. Yeah, what's up, Sage? I'm glad you're here. I'm sure you've seen me play this game before. I'm sure, like in passing, the couple of times, the handful of times that I've actually had it up. There we go. You may play this once or twice, but you're quite familiar with it. Yeah. It's a goofy little game. It's a fun. It's a fucked up game, but it's fucking awesome. How's that? That good? Thank you. All right, so Parasite Eve, 1998. This was a very weird title for a lot of people because this was like immediately after like Final Fantasy VII in a lot of people's eyes. It was Square's little attempt. If you don't know anything about games, and I'm sure a lot of you might not be aware of this, I know it's shocking information. Um, Survival horror games were fucking making bank in the late 90s, especially by the time that you hit around like 1998. I don't think I've ever done the tutorial for this game. And I won't start now, but I'll just click on the screen so it doesn't continue to loop while I say this. But survival horror games were so fucking like popular back in the late 90s, and part of the reason for that was a lot of different things. Number one, games were entering like a brand new medium because it's like, hey, we enter the new realm of like 3D. Developers are experimenting with a lot of shit around that time, but horror in general, and I'm sure like Steve or Sage, you can. I've read Steve in the chat because you put it there, you fucking asshole. Sage, you could probably back me up on this. It's like, no, there were a lot of like horror properties and a lot of like revival of horror in like the late 90s that really kind of, you saw that in the 80s with a lot of horror movies that were coming out, but it's like the level of, I guess, visceralness and the subject matter really started to take off or like evolve in going into the 90s. And one of those particular pieces of media actually came from Japan, being the book that this is based off of, Parasite Eve, because this is a spin-off, a sequel to that book, and I'll talk about that in a minute too. Basically, the book made fucking gangbusters. Square saw dollar signs. They work with the publisher of the book themselves, Katakawa, and they made this little game, this goofy little game from the 90s. But before we get into it, I'm going to let everybody know I appreciate you all being here. This is one of my favorite games. I hope you all enjoy it. There were a lot of horror games prior to Sweet Home and Clock Tower, but PlayStation is where horror games really got to be a proper genre. Yeah, absolutely. And like this is like pre-Silent Hill at that. So it's like people were really kind of getting into, like, more and more people were getting into games around this time, and it was just taking off like crazy. Like people had just really, this was around the time where people started realizing like, oh no, video games are like a serious media as far as storytelling goes, and especially because the graphical fidelity. I mean, look at this. I know it's not impressive now necessarily, but 98, like this was as close to real life of like, man, I don't think video games are gonna get any prettier than this. Yeah, RE was really the main progenitor, and I don't even think Resident Evil 2 was out yet. I think it might have been a couple of months away by the time this game came out. Yes, Christmas Eve. This is a Christmas game, by the way. In the same vein of like Die Hard being a Christmas movie. Here we go. What's wrong? You're the one who wanted to come to the opera. That's where we're introduced to our pro tag. Name, Aya Brea. Age, 25. Occupation, NYPD officer. And of course, we can change the name if we really want to, but we're not going to because, I mean, come on, she's too iconic. Much like Die Hard, this is also a New York game. I didn't even think about that, actually. Holy shit. Yeah. I don't know. You're right. I'll have to try to have more fun. Aren't you glad you decided to go out with me? Yeah, sure, man. I even had my dad get the best seats for us tonight. You couldn't get that information out of me. I would have lied like crazy and be like, yeah, I had motion like that. I was the one that fucking got us these tickets. So lighten up. We're gonna have a great time. You'll see. And that's where we're introduced to the controls of this game. So one of the things that is mad different about this game, an actual revolution if you were familiar with horror games of this time. No tank controls. Smooth movement using the analog stick. In fact, everything is controlled through the analog stick, even just the actual menu. You can also tell this is a pre-9/11 game because she's entering this opera with full vest and full gun out, apparently. Please take your seats. The show is about to start. Enjoy the show. So I mentioned earlier, by the way, this is based off of the book. This is a sequel to the book that forgot his name. Is it Hideaki Senna? I want to say wrote in '95. So we're gonna get into the history of like the book in and of itself when we get to certain scenes. But I want to point out that this taking place in New York is actually a leftover from an old idea that Square had. So Hideaki Senna, yes. So when they were working on Final Fantasy VI in '94, they were already kind of looking forward to what they were going to do for FF7. And one of the big things that Sakaguchi specifically wanted to do before he realized that he wasn't going to be able to direct this project was he had an idea in his head for a detective story that actually took place in New York. It was, I want to say the story of like Detective Joe or something like that, where he would go after like these eco-terrorists that were like causing havoc in the city and like blowing shit up. They never got to do the idea because Chrono Trigger's development was an absolute mess, and they had to go and rush that. By the time they got around to it, they had reached the end of the SNES's life cycle, so they were on PlayStation at that point, or they were about to make the jump. Halfway through, they decided to change it and go, New York's a little bit of a dry setting, we'll go and do something else, right? And that's when they move on to the idea of Midgar. Fast forward a couple years to when they got the rights for this game, and they finally decided, like, oh, hey, we should make this a sequel because people were, like I said, this property was super hot at the time. Which led them to going with the idea of, hey, well, we could set it in Tokyo, right? It makes sense. It's more of a direct sequel. And I don't know if this is because Sakaguchi really wanted to use the idea since they never got to do it, or if they decided, like, well, we're in Hawaii at the time because they were working on the FF movie. We have some of the American staff. Maybe it would be a little bit easier if we did, like, research and shit like that for maybe U.S. cities, and so they decided to reuse the New York idea. On top of the fact that Aya's design is based off of a fuck up that Nomura had, where he was trying to draw, I think it was one of the sorceresses from FF8, or Squall's design, ended up making them longer haired than usual, and they just accidentally decided, like, oh, you know what, this would make a really good like main character actually, and so they just went with Aya. They went with that design for Aya initially. So yeah, a lot of little happy accidents in this in development of this game, but that's kind of why it's a little bit lit. Yeah, the future of cinema, the spirits within. God, we'll get to that at some point. But anyway, let's get to our seats. They've already started the first act. Already? Yep. Actually didn't know about the character design bit. That's fun. Yeah, there's concept art of like it floating around. If you Google like Aya's design, you'll find like a design where she kind of looks like a cross between like, it's like a cross between her and Squall. It doesn't look bad at all. Father, please give me permission to marry Ava. I forbid it. You know well what will happen if you do. Those who succumb to her beauty all die in horrible ways. You don't understand. She is the one that has suffered after the deaths. She is evil. Grab her. and burn her at the stake. Father, if you are sentencing her to death, then I ask that you take my life along with hers. Edward. I'm gonna shut up for this scene. Alright, so here's the deal. I didn't get to play this game as a kid. I would have been way too young at the time. But everything I've heard about that from other people, especially when I first played this, I want to say it was like 2010, like that freaked the fuck out of people. Because it was so haunting. It's such a haunting like scene put together. It's like, yeah, the CG in and of itself is not, I mean, it was impressive at the time, but it's the way that it's constructed and the actual like layout of it, the composition is so goddamn good with the haunting like music, the fiery like death and everything else like that. It just hits super well. On top of the fact, I didn't know this until recently because I've never actually read the book. That is a reference. That entire scene is like an entire like reference to one of the last parts of the book, the last kind of like 100 pages where Eve actually like awakens in the hospital and is like talking to the scientist, and she's talking about like taking over and like they're lighting people on fire. She's like lighting people on fire with her fucking like mind in the hospital and some like Akira type shit. And it's really fucking like cool. I was like, oh, okay, that would make sense. I thought it was just some shit that they made up for it because like I said, it's just, I've never seen the movie. I've only seen snippets here and there. Yeah, we unfortunately don't have mods, that's the problem. But I don't know if I can actually just like, let me see. We blocked that. There we go. Anyway, you know what? Just make life a little bit easier for me too. Where are you? Yeah, we'll just do that, and we'll do that. So y'all can, yeah, y'all can take care of it if you need to. Anyways, thank you, because I didn't even notice that shit. But no, like this game genuinely, yeah, like it's amazing, and you can already see like the cinematic kind of like prowess that a lot of that Square was already doing at this time. All right, this is post FF7. I want to say this is working on like a modified version of that engine too, so you get to kind of see what they were able to do post it with a lot of shit. Jesus, I don't want to. Oh my god, I go get out of here now. Sick sound effect. You get the impression that she can kind of take care of herself. There are dead bodies strewn all over this fucking place. Here we go. Just imagine the smell. Yeah, seriously. Freeze. NYPD. You're the only one who seems to be fine. What? You should be awakening soon. What are you talking about? Listen. Your cells are trying to communicate. Oh god, that fucking music kicking in, dude. They're calling out. So yeah, as mentioned, number 1, Yoko Shimomura was the composer for this OST, and she did a fucking phenomenal job. Fresh off of, I want to say, Live Alive and Super Mario RPG, she decided to make this fucking haunting project. And I'm gonna be honest, I still have not heard like anything else like this that mixes like operatic sound and very, very like sort of techno classical music like together. Like I can't think of another version. Like I can't think of another example of this. Maybe Soken, and it says a lot that I have to say like maybe, considering how many genres he's dabbled in. But along with that battle system, so this is one of the coolest battle systems that they actually made at the time, and it says a lot that at the time of them just making bank off of like what essentially was turn-based combat, they decided to go with something a little bit more action-based to shake things up. But the idea, we can fully move around, right, and avoid attacks. I'll let her kind of show that off. We press X, and as long as she's inside of this little green circle, we can fire at her. Oh. What's happening? My body. It's getting hot. Just as I thought. What is this? What did you do to me? I don't think we have access to it yet, but yeah, so what we've actually gotten here is PE Parasite's energy, which is basically our mana system. So this allows us, if we pause, to use certain abilities. Right now, all we have is heal, but we'll get more as we go through the game. Good crit. Yeah, being able to avoid these early on is not necessarily a problem, but it is a really interesting kind of exposure or early sort of preview of what we're going to get later on. Our bodies are communicating with each other. What? Communicating what? What do you want? The more you use that power, the more you will become like me. Power? What power? Who are you? Eve. Eve? I'm surprised you didn't know me, Aya. You should know me well. What? What is this? What was that? Another book reference. There she goes. Wait, where are you going? I'm not through with you yet. Nope. After. I think you told me I had to start reading. Oh, hey, speaking of reading, here's the thing. So I haven't played this game in a while, which means I'm going to forget a couple of things about it. But that does mean that we are going to have to resort to using a guide at some point in order for me to get through. If there's anything that I forget, but we're not going to be using online guides because I want to do this legit. So we're going to do this the good old-fashioned way, the way God intended from back in 1998. I have the official strategy guide here, courtesy of Internet Archive. So if we need to use it at any point, if I need to go ahead and go through and like find some shit, we'll go ahead and use this. Look at this fucking art, man. That early CG. Oh yeah, Brady, Brady James. Yeah, we're gonna be using the Brady guide. They really don't do it like they used to. They really don't. And on one hand, like God, thank God they don't, because it's like spending $30-40. How much were Brady guides back in the day? They were like $20, right? Which nowadays would be like 40 or some shit. Yeah, about 20-40 depending. Listen. Yeah, we will have to manage our items here soon too, but for right now we should be fine. I know she's down there. Sounds like my backup's arrived. Here's the thing. I'm going to choose forget it, but you'll see why here in a bit. I'm going to actually check something. I want to say that if we go back to the front and talk to the police, we actually get extra ammo in this, which I didn't know about at all, which we are going to need pretty soon, because I want to say, yes, you can run out of ammo in this, which is why we had the club as backup. And I want to say this was the game that actually started having live like weapon and armor switching in the middle of combat too, which was pretty impressive, I want to say, for the time. Now look at that. Wait, I'm a cop. I'm with the NYPD. What? Hold on. I'm gonna take out my badge. Don't shoot. If I talk to them, I wonder if it's that thing called spontaneous combustion. Who knows, huh? You think we'll be on TV? I hope this becomes a TV movie or something. Let me patch you up. See, because it's a, yeah, movie came out about a year before this, if I remember. Hey, why don't you have any injuries? Don't ask me. That's something I want to know. Everyone's gotten burned. A lot of them probably won't make it. Yeah, isn't that the truth, Sage? Hey, I've got the same gun. I've got bullets for you if that's what you want. There we go. And I want to say, yeah, we've got a shit ton that we can actually use. Yep. That I at least remember, because I found that shit on complete accident, where I was like, are they actually out at the front? And it turns out, yeah. How you were supposed to guess that without a guide, I have no fucking idea, but many such cases. Yeah, I mean, and going back to strategy guides for a minute, right? It's like I love old school strategy guides, but I definitely do understand the general need, especially now, right? You factor in games were around $50 at the time, MSRP. You go and get the strategy guide, that's another $20. It's $70 you're putting in together all together 4 games. While I do like that, I don't think it would have scaled well now with video games as a whole. Not to mention the fact that it's just like you can share information so easily on social media that it's like, you know, you don't really have the need for them. But I do admire the companies that still put out modern day ones. I still have my Fallout 4 and like FF15 strategy guides that they were selling at like GameStop back in the day. I think it's just a neat little, you know, doodad of information. Ironically, I think that the ones that they should have had, or what they should have kept doing that a lot of companies didn't because maybe different market, was I honest to God think that Ultimanias would have been the way to go. Because not only are they strategy guides, they're also like dev interviews, extra bits of information, extra art that you wouldn't see normally would be put out later on. I think there's a market for that with certain games, especially like Sony games, I think would benefit the most from it, but that's a conversation for another time. I genuinely do think that like they'll end up making a comeback somehow. You know, people tend to just redo shit. Oh. Are you alone? It's dangerous here. You should go. Ghost child. That girl. It couldn't be. Don't think there's anything this way. Old school pre-rendered backgrounds too are just really, really nice, and the sound design is excellent. Stuff like that would be neat as collector's items, but as well as ways to preserve not just the game but the development and assets that went into the game. Yeah, exactly. And I get it. A lot of companies want to kind of hold secure with a lot of development because some of it might not be great, and you do run the risk of people being like, oh, you know, we were going to put like X, Y, and Z into the game only for like other, you know, other gamers to look at it and go, oh, what, you were going to put that in? Oh, but that would have been so cool, and then get upset, right? Or find out that it was held as like DLC. But it's like you can finagle stuff like that. Like, I don't think it's really that big of a deal that people would be that upset about it. All right, so a lot of this shit is locked very, very early on. I think we're about to get exposed to this cutscene. Mm-hmm. God, look at that thing. Here we go. 2 experience points. Jesus. Did Eve do that to that rat? What is going on here? So, a little bit of backstory too about this game, or about the book specifically. I mentioned that it was based off of the book that Hideaki Senna wrote in '95 called Parasite Eve. Little known fact about, well, not little known, I should reword that, but fact about Hideaki Senna. Part of the reason why he wrote that book and why it was such a huge sort of like awakening for a lot of the Japanese audience at the time, in terms of what was possible with horror. Jesus, speaking of. was that Hideaki Senna was a microbiologist and a pharmacologist who wrote that story. So a lot of that book is very, very, very deeply rooted in his knowledge of science and microbiology at the time. He was actually working on mitochondria and doing experiments and shit like that in terms of like getting them to turn fatty amino acids into energy and sort of studying that. He used a lot of that experience to write the backstory for this. And a lot of that book is deeply rooted in an actual scientific theory that people were studying at the time. And I forgot the name of it, but essentially the purpose or the idea of it is that every part of the cell, from the nucleus to the mitochondria, things like that, were conceived or evolved from individual bacteria that formed symbiotic relationships with each other in order to form like multi-part cellular organisms, eukaryotic like beings. And the concept or the conceit of Parasite Eve is, well, what if one of those parts or any one of those creatures decided to basically not hold up their end of the bargain in terms of like that symbiotic relationship? Or what if it was truly parasitic the entire time, where they were just latching on, waiting for the opportunity to kind of overtake the rest of these parts? Because that does happen in nature. Think something akin to like the cordyceps virus, you know, on some like Last of Us type shit. It's a very interesting idea, and it's a very interesting like conceit for a horror novel, you know what I mean? Because it's so different from everything else. I think it's a similar thing with Koji Suzuki and how he wrote The Ring and its sequels. Absolutely. Ironically, The Ring was kind of the story that ended up catching fire. Hold on. You're still alive. Hold on, let me call the paramedics. Melissa. She's a monster. Don't try to talk now. Melissa, you mean the main actress? She probably got to Suzanne too. You'll have to stop her. No, please. Wake up. Hang in there. There she goes. Fair bit of warning, I'm not a professional voice actor, so the voices in this are going to sound very, very odd, but bear with me. That reflection tech is really well done too. But yeah, it's actually pretty ironic that you bring up The Ring, because the Ring was the one in '98 that ended up kind of taking off way more in the West than Parasite Eve did. This, I'm pretty sure the book didn't even get translated until like 2005, because it was just kind of a little bit too ahead of its time by like a couple of years. It's actually kind of fucked up. But we got the game out of it, so a lot of people still get exposed to the concept and the ideas of it. Ah, here, take it. Take everything. It's all on the counter. Don't scare me. I'm with the NYPD. You're the one that scared me, lady. I was just getting ready. You know, only staff are allowed in here. Hell, there was an incident here. You have to evacuate. What? You're kidding, right? Hey, I'm not dying here tonight. See ya. I'm sure he's fine. We're gonna check this stuff in here real quick. The Ring Terror's Realm. I've never actually played that. Ammo. Nice. Yeah, straight fried. There we go. Nah, listen, I'm sure he's fine. Battles are also no random encounters, by the way. If we leave this area and head back in here, I'll get a battle at that part almost every fucking time. So you can tell they really started working very heavily on the, best song alert. Arise Within You is such a good fucking battle theme. Level up. All right. So we leveled up. We got our maximum and HP up. Excuse me. Our stats went up, and you're also gonna notice down below bonus points. We'll get to that later on, but that's how we kind of create a build for Aya later on. So we'll see that, and our item capacity also levels up alongside us too. Good amount of ammo, which we're gonna put in. I want to say our actual capacity is pretty nice right now too. Let me see. Yeah, 11 items, so we should be sitting pretty well right now. It's that clown from the dressing room. I don't have access to this yet. Damn shame. Oh. Oh. What's this key? Theater key. Give those poor incinerated actors some privacy in their makeup closets. Amen. Oh, it's nice to know the clown at least made it out alive. I believe we have another item behind here. Yes, we do. Hi. Hi. Help. Help. I better notify the department about what's happening here. You save your progress, and there's our save point. I have some stuff around here, but we're gonna go ahead and overwrite this. And I actually completely forgot about this, but I'm gonna go ahead and edit some of this. Get a nice light blue going here. Can't do anything about that parrot just yet, but we did get a key. Horror around this time, Senna definitely did use like a lot of his knowledge to really like leverage the story and deliver something completely like unique at the time. To the point where it was such a revelation in Japan that not only did a lot of people kind of go and write their own stories because of this, he was lauded as like Japan's answer to a lot of like American horror artists and writers at the time, like Stephen King, because it was that special to a lot of people. Despite the fact that it was also very dry from what I've heard, because it was written, some scenes are written almost like they're like a medical doctrine or like a lecture rather than any sort of like horror scene, but for its time. All right, some more ammo. Let's see what the bird wants to say to us. Mercy. Oh. Ruh-roh. Very clinically. And we're just getting all of the crits today. Yeah, very clinically, very dry. It's not like the worst thing in the world, but it is definitely like a weird, like a very, very, very dry interpretation, a very weird interpretation. I want to say this. Yes. Oh, Serotonin, thank you for the follow and thank you for the prime. Hope you're enjoying. We got a book here. A diary. Hey, Austin, thanks. Appreciate it. October 3rd, Monday. The Christmas show is set. This has been my dream. The main actress has a solo concert at the theater in Central Park. Took all that medication to get here. I have to get the lead part. I'll even sell my soul to the devil if I have to. November 17th, Monday. The cast was announced. Suzanne and I are double cast. I want to play the part alone, but everyone knows she's good. November 21st, Friday. I think I'm overdoing it. My body's getting hotter than ever for some reason. I'd better take more medicine. December 6th, Saturday. I collapsed today. I lost consciousness after my body got hot. I don't care if I die. I just want to get through the show. December 10th, Wednesday. I passed out again. They told me to go to the doctor and get some rest. If this continues, Suzanne will definitely take my part. I need to get better. I'd better take a lot of medication tonight. December 11th, Thursday. Suzanne was burned in an apartment fire. Is it because I wanted the part so bad? God, forgive me. December 17th, Wednesday. Looks like I'll be the lead. I'd better take more medication and work it. December 23rd, Tuesday, so yesterday. Opening night. Everything went smoothly. Tomorrow is Christmas Eve. We should have the biggest crowd of the season. And I had the solo concert the next day at the park. But I'm not feeling well. I'd better shape up if I want to get through this. I better take more medication. For what? Why is she taking so much? She must have a drug problem. Another key. The rehearse key. You could definitely say she has a drug problem, yes. I'd say that's the least of her worries, but, you know. Typical cop, always going straight to the fence. Listen, in Aya's honest defense, right? If you read a diary, like, of somebody who was going off of the deep end, right? And you saw that the first thing that they mentioned is, oh man, you know, I gotta take more pills, right? And every other page was, yeah, you know, I walked the dog today, took some pills, I woke up, got some, like, food to eat, took some pills, Suzanne got in a car accident, took some pills, picked up some food at the local Whole Foods, got some pills, took some pills, went to take some more pills. You'd probably look at it and be like, yeah, it's probably the Fent. It's more than likely very much the Fent. Speaking of pills, we got a shit ton of medicine we need to take care of, but hold on, let's sort this. Let's go with items, guns, and then armor with medicines first. Yeah, that'll do it. I think she's just being over-medicated by the predatory American medical industry. You know, more than likely, you're absolutely right. I think that's the fucked up part about it, too, is that it's just like, now there's no commentary about it. Listen, as predatory as they are, I don't think they're responsible for rats turning into fucking ghouls out of nowhere, but, you know, we'll see. I'm not gonna spoil anything just yet. That's the shit Alex Jones was talking about with the frogs. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. If Parasite Eve came out today, that would absolutely be like the dialogue, right? What we got here? Alright, so our inventory's full. We gotta make some room for something, but I don't know what we actually just picked up. Tell you what, since we already have, like... Yeah, we'll go ahead and put that in. We already have, like, not only enough medicine, but we also have, our heal for Parasite Energy. It takes us a lot, but we'll be fine. Here's another battle. Yeah, you definitely get put into a lot of situations where you just need to try to, like, back away or run away. This bird, I want to say, shoots something. Yeah. No, it just flies around like crazy. We're outside of range, that's why. Come here. There we go. You're farming these crits like your name's one left. Yeah, I don't know why. Alright, ammo and another thing of medicine, which we just dropped, but it's fine. I'm gonna say our capacity went up again. I didn't actually see. Yeah, to 12, so we should be fine for right now. Don't think we can go through here. Let's head to the back. That fucking bird that I ate, yeah. Birds ain't even the fucking worst part. Let's see, we're gonna get another encounter. No, we should have access to the back now. The theme. I'm Melissa. No. I am Eve. I'm getting hot. She's tweaking. Nucleic domination has finally come to an end once and for all. What? Appropriate response. Every fucking time I hear that. Once again, the day has come for the mitochondria to be free. Has finally arrived. It's time for nucleic submission. Nucleic bonding. I don't know if people would have been ready for that back in '98. I need to get a better view of this, because some angles will definitely screw you if you fuck around. Camera angles, that is. Yeah, the powerhouse of the fucking cell. Right, I think we got it. Yeah. Looks like you still need some time, girl. until your mitochondria is completely free. Mitochondria? What are you saying? I don't understand you. Once again, appropriate response. What? Where is this? Is that the little girl I saw? No. It's... that doctor. Wait. Mitochondria to be free? Yeah, no, he didn't write this game, but you can kind of see what I mean when I say that Hideaki Senna definitely wrote this from the perspective of somebody that works in like medicine and works in microbiology. It's a very odd line to kind of throw in. Nuclear domination has come to an end, but the concept in and of itself, like the idea is really fucking sweet. The idea of like cellular symbiosis kind of just collapsing. Well, no time like the present. So we see that she's getting flashbacks to sometime, or at least visions to sometime. We also see that Eve apparently knows her, but she doesn't know Eve. We see that Eve, as like an entity, starting to take over Melissa's body. She really fucking hates every other part of the cell but the mitochondria. She fucking vibes only with mitochondria and nothing else. So we'll come to see what that means, but for right now, we're about an hour in. I'm going to go ahead and take a quick break to get some more water, about 5 minutes or so. Maybe get a refill on coffee, stretch a little bit. So I'll be right back, but in the meantime, enjoy the break screen and a couple of the ads that I have set up. We'll be right back.
Cellular DNA. Aliens within ourselves, waiting to strike. Parasite.
The worst foe lies within. Parasite Eve.
Squaresoft. PlayStation.
Save us! God save us! God save us! Lord, why? Tell me why!
Awake now.
God, humanity is over! Humanity...
そして DNA が繰り出す I am Eve.
God save us! God
The cinematic RPG Parasite Eve.
コンビニでデジキューブ Hello
New York. New York. そして何かが目を覚ます I am Eve. The cinematic RPG Parasite Eve.
Millions of years ago, the mitochondria began to live silently within our bodies. It seems that the parasites have only to live among us. Or do they?
cellular DNA. Aliens within ourselves, waiting to strike. Parasite.
The worst foe lies within. Parasite Eve.
Squaresoft. Base station.
Save us! God save us! God save us! Lord, why? Tell me why!
Awake
God, you wrote it over! You wrote it
そして DNA が繰り出す I am Eve
God save us, God!
The Cinematic RPG Parasite Eve
コンビニでデジキューブ Hello
All right, we're back. It's good, fresh cup of coffee, some water, and put the rest of our food from downstairs, or put the rest of our food downstairs, I should say. I'm glad everyone liked that break screen. I'm gonna try to set those up every single time we do that. I love some of those old school like ads. They really don't make them like they used to. It's actually a good point in the ads in and of itself. You'll notice in like one of those, I forgot which one I had set up. Yeah, the tagline for this game, the cinematic RPG. This game, like I said, it came out about 98. It's running on a modified version of like the FF7 engine. You can really see and like pinpoint where they like really, this is kind of like the landmark where they really got down the presentation of this, you know what I mean? Because this background, the way this is shot and the way this is angled and like the composition of it, you see shots like this in 7, but this is where they really start getting a feel for like, okay, yeah, we're gonna try to set up like purposeful lighting, purposeful mood. You know, they're getting used to the technology at such a rapid rate, they really kind of get creative with it. And part of that is based off of the fact that like Parasite Eve is not their property, right? It's a licensing deal that they have like with Kadokawa and with Hideaki Sena. But this is where you sort of get a feel for like where Square is headed, I think, around this time. And it's cool to see like the evolution of it kind of branch off from what they were using this technology for. Not to say that 7 didn't have moments like this, but to actually have this in gameplay is insane, or was insane for the time. I can use a stream of old school ads and nothing else. I'll be honest, man, like I could do the exact same shit. I really kind of want to set that up, but that'll be for another time. Now, let's check out these sewers. Like, even down to the fact that we have seamless battles now, or at least as seamless as you could get for the PS1. Now, you can also switch between targets at will. So it's risk reward, where it's like, yeah, you could get in the middle to possibly like shoot all these guys. 2 to work with. I'm gonna try to just take down these 2. Another crit. There we go. Another healthy dose of ammo. And our health is a little bit low, but just so that we don't get ganked, and because we need to manage our inventory a little bit. Go ahead and chew up one of these medicines. Now we got the introduction of the Frog. So these guys, they like to stay a little bit stagnant in one area, but their problem is their tongues, obviously, where... Yep. We're prone to doing that. Very, very quick, very annoying to deal with, but the solution to that, you want to try to get up behind them and just stay away from the front. They will hop around on the fly, but as long as you're moving around, it should be pretty easy to take them down. Get rid of this rat. Probably get hit by that. Nope. You also don't want to get cornered. Like that. That's fine, another level up. another inventory bonus points. Item capacity went up. And we have reached the point parasitic powers have evolved. Scan analyzes enemies' HP and weaknesses, which is going to be very, very useful to us in specific boss fights. And with that, we're going to go ahead and use another medicine. And it's kind of the benefit of this compared to other survival horror games is that while item management, normally you wouldn't want to chew up your items. Here we get doused with so many so early. It's kind of important to just smoke them if you got them, so to speak. It just makes life a hell of a lot easier. So we got another handgun, actually, for this one. I want to say this is actually stronger than what we got right now. Let me see. Yeah, better range, same bullet capacity, and better attack. So we're going to go ahead and switch this out. And what else is that? Oh yeah, rate of fire is also 3, so we can get off 3 shots instead of 2. So this is just an inherently better gun for us. There is, if I remember correctly, a weapon upgrade system in this that we'll unlock later on. I don't know if we get that later on at the station or if we can unlock it here, but that is a system that we're gonna have to delve deep to later on. And from what I remember, there's a couple of kinks along with it. Speaking of, there's a little girl I saw at the theater. Are you lost? And there she goes. Wait, little girl, don't go. Well, we'll chase after her in just a minute. We've got actually some more things to check out here. Now, I already knew about this, but yeah, there we go. Item increases attack power by 1. So if I am thinking about this the way I think I'm thinking about this, if we use this and use it on this gun, we actually can increase its damage along with it. This also changes later on too and really expands, so we can do crazy shit like we can increase like its range by a shit ton. We can increase the rate of fire. We also get different types of guns later on too, such as machine guns and rifles. Well, machine guns at the very least. I don't know about rifles. I think this is a secret room. Yep. A Cure P, which prevents poison. We'll replace out one of the medicines we got. That increases PE defense, so that increases our parasite energy defense, which is good for our armor. And take out another medicine and another offense +1. I stumbled upon PE enthusiasts. Yes, you did. RPG enthusiasts. The Parasite Eve, nonetheless, is a fucking phenomenal game. But what's up, Sirius? Go ahead and replace medicines. Medicine for medicine. That's fair trade, I guess. I want to say there's a chest upstairs, but I need to remember. I think if you go upstairs, it just shows you the chests that are down here because you wouldn't know that they were down here regardless. Unless you already knew ahead of time, or you just really had like good vision. Thank you for streaming this. Anytime I mention this game, no one knows what it is. Yeah, it's a really, really, really fun old school game. I wish more people knew about it, or at the very least, like, played it. But people have been screaming about like a remake of this game for like the longest time. Let's see if we can get dodge. Yep. And 2 revives. Or at least 1 revival, and we're not gonna be able to get the other, but that's fine. So yeah, over here is the chest that I want to say picked up earlier. That has the other medicine in it. That's the one that we opened up earlier. I could go ahead and level up my gun and my armor now, but I'm gonna hold off on that. Yeah, I think this just shows us that we got some shit down there, so we can go in that room. No, this is a actually phenomenal game. Like I said, the fact that you had freedom of movement along with this, compared to the Resident Evils of the time, which conveniently is also missing from Parasite Eve 2, which I find funny. Wish we could have remake That's a Lost Cause because Square doesn't have the rights to the IP anymore. Yep. Unfortunately, they do not, because this was licensed out to them. Which is also why the third birthday is called the third birthday. It's sort of a reference of, yeah, we know it's Parasite Eve 3, we just can't call it that. We got 2 of these guys, but luckily our capacity is up, so we shouldn't have too much to worry about. You can also frame trap enemies above and sort of delay their attack, which is also really neat. Wait until that guy attacks. I'm gonna gamble and say that takes him out. Yes. And another crit. We don't talk about the third birthday. We're gonna have to at some point, sadly. People have to know. There's a switch in an emergency phone. First things first, let's press the switch. And we'll use the phone. Yeah, like I said, the actual amount of experimentation that they were willing to go for at this time too was really something to behold. You know what I mean? Like, this combat system is so different from anything else you would see at JRPGs at the time. Part of the reason for that was because of the new technology that a lot of these devs had, you know what I mean, working in 3D and being able to kind of like flex their muscles, because you don't have to worry about many console limitations compared to the SNES at the time or whatever console people were developing on. You definitely didn't have to worry about like space being an issue, so you can kind of flex your creativity a little bit. But what people also don't talk about, you get this from the sense of, you know, interviews with the FF8 devs of the time, you know, and we're talking about like a year after this. Oh, hold on. Eve. Uh-oh. I actually skipped that, but she says hold it right there. My body's getting hot again. Aya's ready to take me on just by herself. Well, even if you did have more people with you, they just burn, right? Everyone else but you. You are. Yeah, it's the third time we brought that up now, too. Whereas, you'll notice everyone else got burnt up except for her partner, but he just hid, I assume. Just turn her date. Tell me, Eve. Why? Why me? Why am I the only one? You'll find out. Eventually. We're not going to spoil the game for you, is what they basically just said. Even if you don't understand, don't worry. Your mitochondria will. They've always known. I'm going to give you some time. Some time to think, and some time to evolve. And the day shall arrive when you will awaken. Powerhouse of the Cell, indeed. Crocodile. Play this game with your family when it first came out, so imagine your horror when you went to school and learned about the mitochondria. Yeah. Alright, so there are 2 targets. So you can attack this guy from the front. He likes to throw out shockwaves, and you'll do pretty good damage, or especially with the weapon that we have right now. But the smart thing to do, if I can avoid dying, which I'm gonna go ahead and eat one of our medicines now, just to be on the cautious side, eat up our ATP, is to try to get behind him and shoot the tail for extra damage. I just need to actually get in a good spot to where shockwave. Don't move. I want to say that'll do more damage, or at the very least the crit rate will increase. A bit of a gamble, but we did save, so I'm not too worried about it. I think we're far enough to be able to avoid an attack. Oh. Phase 2. I'm gonna go ahead and, you know what, since I actually didn't get to show it off, we'll heal. See what that looks like. So our parasite energy is down. Now we have that to worry about. But you're also going to notice it's going to regenerate up in the corner. And that's because this game has a very weird mechanic where it does have regenerative MP, so to speak, in the parasite energy, but only to a certain extent. So it'll regenerate. It'll stop regenerating at a certain point once we use too much. That said, there is a trick that I do know of in order to actually reset it. If you change your armor later on, because I think armor also determines the regenerative rate of PE, you can actually like reset it, so to speak, in order to sort of cheat and get your way around it. But it's a really cool MP system nonetheless. And I think what we're going to do now is we're also going to try to scan this guy. So I'm going to back out. Alright, what are we working with here? HP we don't know. Easily tranquilized, which we don't have access to that yet. Sensitive to heat, which we also don't have access to yet. No. Can I not shoot the tail? No, I can't. I need to get into a spot where you cannot. I made tea instead of coffee. I lied. Oh my god, I can't believe you, dude. I think we're outside. No, we're inside of the range, but we're a little bit too close. Guess we're not doing good damage right now, but that's fine. Shit like this is why you also don't want to run out of ammo early on too, because you notice that we have 66 bullets. If I didn't go back and talk to that police officer, we'd be running a lot lower, a lot quicker, and we'd have to rely on the baton, and the last thing you want to do is get close to this guy when he's firing off shots like that. Got him. And a level up. Parasitic powers have evolved. We have access to slow now. Slows enemies AT recharge, which we don't have a visual of, but we will be able to tell just off rip. Like I said, being able to have access to parasite energy is very, very useful up front, but like any RPG, and especially like any survival horror, you don't want to chew through these too much. So I'll show it off, but I feel like we're going to be saving a lot of these for boss fights. Or it'd be better to anyway. But we're making good dividends. We also have a KV vest, which I don't think we... Yeah, we have room for. We have room for. God, I just want 45 Parabellum Bloodhound right now. You're telling me, man. I've been waiting for that game. I'm waiting for Nirvana too, but it's a very small studio. I think that guy is only working with like a handful of other people, so I'm gonna give him time. When I will awaken. Just tell me what you want, Eve. You know, I'll back it out the front. We're live in front of Carnegie Hall, which has become the scene, or a scene, of complete chaos. Miss, you were the sole survivor of this horrible ordeal, correct? Until now, this combustion theory has been acknowledged only by a cult enthusiast. Which is weird, because as far as we know, and as far as like the timescale of this game is concerned, I'm convinced that we've only been here for like an hour, so it's pretty quick news going around in a pre-internet world, but please, just leave me alone. This incident happened to take place on Christmas Eve of all nights. I would like to represent the citizens of the city and interview you exclusively. Are you crazy? Jim, did you get this on tape? Yep, Daniel, our guy. Scram, buddy. Daniel. Sorry I'm late, Aya. Daniel's our partner. Alright, Aya, are you okay? It was really something that happened back there. Yes. Oh, but my date. Heard from a cop that your boyfriend ran out of there like a wuss. He almost shit himself. I would have too if I was in that fucking theater. Are you kidding me? Sorry your date didn't go well. It's not like that. I had him escort me because he kept pestering me for a date. Yeah, but of all places, the opera? There's a story. So why the opera, huh? Is that the in thing right now? Just saw an ad in the paper. I don't know, it just caught my eye. Don't tell me you were on this case. So you finally got some cop instinct in you, huh? Instinct. Daniel, shouldn't you be with your son? It's Christmas Eve. He knows his dad's a cop. My boy understands. You can't always assume. Anyway, to change the subject, I've heard things from people who were there. This is one hell of an incident, huh? Mitochondria. Symbiosis. I was in the hospital? Hey, oh, you asleep? Oh, well. I don't blame you. After what you've been through tonight. It all started with this incident. 6 days that were to become a nightmare for all. People will eventually forget and go on with their lives. It's a beautiful low poly shot of New York, circa 1997. But I will never forget it. It was pure terror, but it's 6 days filled with familiar memories. And again, looking at this shot, just a reminder, FF7 was supposed to take place here. I'm glad that they at the very least got to use this idea. Day 2, Fusion. So we've reached Chapter 2 at this point. So I would like to save my progress. We also don't really need to stagger saves at this point either. And again, I want to reiterate for everybody that it has been a while since I've played this game, so there are going to be some things that I forget. But as a backup, that's why we had the strategy guide. So this is going to be our go-to as far as going through this. Video games should have never evolved past this point. Half joking. I mean, honestly, you could make an argument. Here's the thing, man. You can make an argument that like shit like this could definitely be made now, but there's definitely like a level of creativity that I think is missing, and I think it stems from the fact that games just cost way too fucking much to make now. You know, because it's like, yes, this is technically like a licensed game, but think about like how hard they went for a licensed game, like a half survival horror, half RPG. Like things like that don't get made nowadays, and if they do, it's very far and few in between. Not to sound like a boomer of like, they just don't make them like they used to, but they really don't. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Some good, some bad, you know. Meanwhile, back at the police station. Daniel, hey, you okay? You ought to be resting. Wish I could, but I'm the only one who knows what happened last night. I've been gathering some info on Melissa. She's got no relatives. And no close friends. She was sick often, always on some kind of medication. Oh yeah, boy, don't we know it. The people at the opera said that they were amazed she could even stand on stage. Her apartment burned down right after the incident, so we have no info on her medication. So what's this about spontaneous combustion stuff all about? It wasn't exactly spontaneous. People were actually set on fire. Oh, come on. What, like one of those ESP things? That's the best way to describe it for now. ESP, huh? Well, I'm not buying it. But if you're right, how are we supposed to deal with something like that? I believe her. After all, I is the only witness so far. But if you're going to take on a suspect like that, you better at least ask Baker for a better sidearm. I read your report. Still hard to believe, but we can't deny all those deaths. We're going to go all out to solve this case. Make sure you're well equipped. Go down to the weapons department and give this permit to Torres. He'll help you out. Mod permit. Which I believe is our impetus to actually start modding our weapon. What we've also gathered from this case too, and for those of you that missed the note from earlier, is that we found Melissa's diary where she was going through, and one of the details I actually like is the fact that they mentioned, it's like, yeah, no, she didn't have any close friends or family and everything else like that. Meaning, this was a woman that was basically giving up everything just to kind of get a role to be like a famous actress. What you can infer from that is that either A, she was purposely avoiding her family, or B, her family didn't believe in her dreams and ideas of actually being a professional actress, and she was working hard to prove them wrong, which is a nice little inference, but a sad story nonetheless, especially considering what happened to her. And then there's this theme. Out of phase. Which, for those of you watching, do me a favor. Listen to this song, and then type into YouTube The Reverse Will from Silent Hill 2. And you can... I'm not saying that he was, but I kind of fuck with the theory that Akira Yamaoka was heavily influenced. I mean, like, heavily influenced by this OST. Now let's talk to our guy, Nix. Yeah, how are we supposed to deal with something like that? The composer for P is also the composer for KH. Yes! The ever-present Yoko Shimomura, who is a fucking legend. Like I said, between Super Mario RPG, Live Alive, Street Fighter 2. At first I thought that she actually like worked on this game first. I was actually wrong. So she worked at Capcom for like the longest time. And I remember thinking, I remember always wondering like why she left. Apparently, part of the reason why she left was she liked her job at Capcom, but she always wanted to work on fantasy games. She actually wanted to compose like a fantasy RPGs like OST. It was like, or one like dream project, and Capcom just wasn't making those at the time. I think she got to like maybe work with the Breath of Fire team or try to request, and they denied it. So she just up and left. First project she got to work on with Square was Live Alive, which kind of counts, but you know, it was kind of up the alley of what she wanted, right? And she goes to work on Super Mario RPG in 96. She works on this game. Finally, in 99, she gets her like solo time to shine, right? Her dream project. She gets to work on Legend of Mana. And I think she's even quoted as saying that that's her favorite OST that she's worked on, and kind of like exemplifies her style to a T. So shout out to her for finally being able to like live her dream in that moment. She did a phenomenal job on all these OSTs. Including the third birthday, which is part of like the only like real positives I have about that game, is that the OST is still an absolute fucking banger top to bottom. We gotta explore around because I don't remember if there's actually anything in here. For right now, let's go mod our shits wherever we are going. I think it's over here. I actually forgot how to fucking get out of here. No, it's through the door. I'm stupid. Truly and honestly the greatest to ever do it. The GOAT. Yeah. There's arguments to make about whether her, Uematsu, or like Soken are the best JP composers. I know you could probably put like more on that list, but in terms of like genre and outreach, like it's hard not to say that those are the big three. And it's really kind of, it's a tough argument to make, man, like between any of them, who is just the actual best. I don't think you could narrow it down to just one. Maybe preference wise, but that's about it. It's our new vest, or one of our vests we can actually get. I think we got, I don't know if this is stronger or better than the one we actually have. Let's see. KV vest. No, this is worse. We actually have a worse critical hit rate, but our PE energy doubles. Okay, so we have better crit. It's not as big of a jump in PE energy, but it's way better defense. I think we're gonna go with the KV vest, and we'll add a modification onto that one. So before I forget, let's go ahead and switch. We'll go ahead and discard this one for right now. And we'll worry about the rest of that when we actually set it up. I was debating about whether or not I actually want to get rid of anything, but for right now, I mean, like, we should be fine. I think this is also openable. And no, that wasn't. What did you say? At last, it's mine. Hold up, what are you up to, man? Hey, you better put on your vest too. Can't be too careful. Right, so he's fooling around with something, and he's actually trying to give me solid advice. New York's finest. What you up to? Oh, the weapons department. You didn't hit your head last night, did you? It's right downstairs. Well, fucking, I don't know. Maybe I did. Front of NYPD. How close do you have to get to this guy to talk to him, or is it from the front? It's from the front. Ah, it's Eddie. What a case to have on Christmas, huh? You're telling me. Let's check out what Torres has got for us. There you are. What's up, dude? Oh no, it's Wayne. Hey there, good looking. Cut the crap, Wayne. Where's Torres? That baldy? Who knows? What'll it be? Shotgun? Rocket launcher? Wayne! Yes, sir. Wayne is one of the names of all time. Idiots like you are the reason why guns won't disappear from this country. Topical. Get your ass back to weapons storage. You're far from ready to be handling guns in here. Okay. Okay. Okay, sheesh. Should have read that in fucking Benson's voice. Torres, I need some equipment. Last night's case? Heard it was quite a mess. But as long as cops rely on guns, criminals will too. It's a vicious cycle. I hate to hand a weapon to a young cop like you. But I hear this isn't your ordinary crook. I guess I can't send you off empty-handed. Say, you can't carry any more equipment. Wayne, take some of her things and put them in storage. Yeah. You have something to say, officer? No, sir. So you want to leave something here? Yeah, now we can drop off some of her stuff. So... Right, first things first. Dump off the handgun that we're not using. We'll also dump off the CM vest, because I do kind of want to see what we can do with that. Exactly, clean my inventory. Oh. I'm gonna keep the club on us for right now. I mean, like, we don't have a reason to necessarily be shy on inventory, but it's nice to at least have another backup option. I don't want to go without one. It's the last thing I want to do. Alright, we don't have any tools for that. And I don't know if we actually have any more equipment slots. We can level up certain items, but that's why I don't want to use some of them right now. Because we got that +1 for damage output for guns, but is it worth using now if we find another weapon later on? Because I'm pretty sure you do find one on day 2. That's the big question. Oh, we have some stuff in storage. Oh! And bonus points. Right. So we can put bonus points into some of these too. To actually level them up. I think... God, it takes 100, right? Here, let's hold on and just put some of that stuff in inventory right now. Or for in storage right now. Here. This is the most powerful gun I can allow you to have. Ooh, a rifle. The M16A1. Huge range, enormous attack power, and it has 2 slots, so it has a firing range of 2, and we can add another modification to it if we need to. Nice base damage. We can actually increase that with our next one too. With that +1 we got in our inventory. Captain Baker already notified me. Show me your modification permit again. Ooh. Which gun? Hey, what? Just to show this off, let's go ahead and add another slot to it. All right, just wait here. Dubious gun noises. All set. But, damn it. Completely forgot what you just said because I accidentally skipped that. I need to stop doing that. It's easy to get into a habit of mashing X in this game because of the way that, like, how finicky some of the selections are. Sometimes it's like, oh, right away. Sometimes it's like, we're going to take like 5 seconds to register that you just hit X. Psst. Don't tell Torres, but you can tune up your you can use your tool to tune up your guns. You can rearrange equipment parameters and added effects to tweak your equipment. I can show you some cool tune-up techniques. So yeah, this was the other aspect of this game. So this game has a very deep, very, very deep weapon customization system where you have access to specific items to be able to do this shit with. So let's go ahead and read this. Tune-up icon. Using the tool item, you can add or remove parameters and added effects onto your weapon or armor to create your customized equipment. If you remove an added effect from the armor or weapon, that equipment will disappear. The number of added effects that can be attached to a piece of equipment is determined by the number of slots on that equipment. You can increase the number of slots by getting your equipment modified at the NYPD weapons department. Are you telling me to bone my gun? I think he is, honestly. But the guy is kind of a gun nut. He was willing to just walk up in here and be like, "Yo, so you want a rocket launcher? You want a shotgun? You want a machine gun? You got it? Trust me, you can never have too much firepower. Of course, can't use them without bullets, so you better make sure you always have your club. Just in case, you know? Now, why don't you leave the stuff that you don't need with me? Can do, so let's actually take a look here. Yeah, so we don't need these. These are key items from our last day. The rest of the stuff we can actually kind of hold on to. The medicine 2 might be a little bit overkill for where we are right now in terms of our level, but we're going to level up on the next couple of missions anyway, so it really doesn't matter. Let's go ahead and sort of that. These two I can actually go ahead and use now too. It's just a nice little equipment. But yeah, the kind of the counterpoint to the tool system is that it's like you need specific, number one, you need specific items for it. You need tools. Those are consumable, but you can get an infinite source of them later on. I just forgot the actual way to do it, but I'm sure it's in the guide. The other is that the equipment that you change or that you take off, if you take off the added equipment or the added effect to it, the previous gun that you took it away from will disappear. There is another counterpoint to that, though. I think you get a different tool later on that allows you to take off added effect items off of armor and weapons without destroying them, which is super useful because some items later on you're going to be like, well, I like the effect, I just don't like the weapon, but I don't want to get rid of the original weapon in case I need it. So it's a nice little countermeasure. And it's very, very useful for one of the endgame dungeons in this. The super tool, yes, thank you. That allows you to do that. It's also very useful because there's an endgame dungeon that has a little bit of extra story that basically requires you to have high leveled up or highly customized weapons in order to get through some of the challenges. And it's the toughest dungeon in the game for obvious reasons. It's not really a new game plus, but it is a post-game unlock that basically kind of it kind of works like a new game plus in the sense that some stuff carries over, some stuff doesn't. And we don't have any junk. Equipment is fine, the ammo crate is fine. There's a lot of post-game if you get me. Yeah, so it's a flat. Let's move it up by 1 point. And we don't really need to right now, so I think we should be fine. we have the tune-up option available to us if we have a tool or a super tool, and we have the actual bonus point system, which we can use to increase either our active time or our item capacity. Now, normally it would make sense to put it into active time because of the fact that that means less time that we have to wait on actions. The smart thing to do is actually, I'm going to increase our item capacity. Reason for that is simple. Number one, more items is always better. Inventory is going to be a huge problem in this game for obvious reasons. Number two, I'm pretty sure active time resets before that dungeon anyways, so it's not really even worth it to level up at this point. It's nice if we're struggling, we're moving around fine. If I need to level on or later on, I can always grind to get it back up, but item capacity is just the better solution right now, so I'm going to go ahead and dump it into that. And where are we looking? Go ahead and use that on our rifle just to make it a little bit stronger. And I'm going to go ahead and use this on the KV vest that we have. And sword. Alright, so we should be smooth. And another thing of medicine for our trouble. I guess the other problem too is that at specific intervals we can get super big upgrades and new weapons, but we need permits in order to do it, which we get through the actual chapters themselves. And our first tool. So for example, one of the things I could do right now is I could take this weapon on our rate of fire, which would be really, really useful to us, and I can just put it on that 3 like rate of fire. I can just put it onto the rifle that we have right now, but it'd be stupid to do that, one, because we we need more ammo for that specific rifle too. Kind of an issue. That, and I don't want to get rid of the handgun. Can't really pet the dog, but you know, not every game's perfect. I love to just watch them. They always come here after my shift, or I always come here after my shift to relax. Better gun control than real America. I don't know, man. We did just have a cop basically tell us, like, you know, if you want to get away with modifying it without the permits, you could just modify it in secret using this wrench. Weapons personnel. But then again, that guy's a fuck up anyway. Wayne. Hey there. Are you lost? Ben? Daddy! There's the boy we were talking about earlier. So this is Ben. Ben, this is Aya. Now what are you doing here? Here. Tickets. Oh, yeah. Concert. Sorry, son. Daddy's real busy tonight. I promise I'll make up for it. Marlene. Fine. Ben. Guess every kid needs a mother. That's not true. I was raised by my father too after my mother died. Always be grateful for him. Keep that in mind for later on, by the way. Yeah, well, his mother's still alive. He's having another beer tonight. Yeah, Daniel's a great cop. Dad, some question marks. I don't think we got anything there. Daniel's son, Ben? Daniel divorced his wife last year. This was before you were assigned here. He kept saying every boy needs a father. So he fought for Ben's custody with Lorraine, his ex-wife. Well, he won, but being a cop, I doubt if he has any time to spend with them. Oh yeah, Captain Baker was looking for you. Yeah. That's the thing. Daniel fought hard to get custody of his son, without really realizing what that meant, whether or not he was gonna have time. And now this case is popping off. Probably should have saved before I jumped in here, but that's fine. Sir. You were looking for me? Yes, we're having a press conference now, and I want you there too. Me? That's right. You'll be on national television as the sole survivor of that incident. I see. But you only answer when I ask you. The media is just looking for anything to grill us about. They may even turn you into a suspect, so you let me do the talking, understood? Yes, sir. Okay then, go meet the press. So are you saying this could be the work of a terrorist? That is what we currently speculate. How about the accounts of officers and firemen at the scene bursting into flames? That was due to a rare, highly flammable chemical which was used to start the fire. Another question. Then how did Detective Brea survive without so much as a minor burn? That was the result of her quick thinking and training as an officer. I'm asking her the question. She said that my mitochondria were a mutation. Rawing that is insane, but Aya, your mitochondria? Who said this? Melissa. No, she said she was Eve. But according to a report, Melissa Pierce was killed in the fire. Kabunga. Thanks for the bets, Austin. Melissa did die. Her body had been taken over by this Eve. Just raw frame one my cells let me do fireballs. Yeah, exactly. What's this Eve? Some kind of alien? People, please. She's very tired and we're still investigating. That will be all for today. No further questions. Now, you might be thinking that Baker's an asshole in this case, but to be fair, she is, by all accounts from everything we've learned so far, a rookie. It is kind of strange for everyone to ask questions and be like, yeah, so we heard that people were like spontaneously bursting into flames or some shit at an opera house. Can you explain that? It's like, yeah, go to commercial. It's like, yeah, there's no good answer to that question, especially if you know the truth of, yeah, so this weird like being that's all hates nucleuses, doesn't fuck with them, all their homies hate nucleuses, loves mitochondria, just started bursting people into flames and everything else like that. Huge tragedy, awful, right? Because the next question to that is obviously going to be, well, where are they now? Are they in custody? Nah. So they're just out in the street. Yeah. And what are you going to do about it? We don't know. It's like, so it does make sense for him to, you know, kind of lead into it and be like, hey, all the shit that you learned, that's cool and all. We love that detective work. Just maybe don't say anything about it. Yeah, there's no way. there's no way I'd fly in today's world, let alone back in 97. So you just go to your old reliable terrorist attack. I'm telling you the truth, sir. It's true. That is not the point. Who's gonna believe you? You'll only stir up the media and cause people to panic. Sir, she was only... Baker here. Who? What does he want? Well, put him through then. This is Captain Baker. What? Meat? You'll have to speak up. Yes. What? Alright. Some Japanese scientists, I think, couldn't understand his English too well. He was raving about some mito something. Says he's coming over here. Mito? Is it mitochondria? Music intensifies. You mean that thing in the cell that makes energy from oxygen? Might have heard about that in school. That's what Eve had said. And it's time for mitochondria to be set free. And in fairness, this does sound absolutely like unhinged, where it's just like, yeah, she was saying something about mitochondria being set free and taking over the globe. This would be like if I said like, oh, it's time for ribs to overthrow the rest of the body as the dominant like bone in the body. Time for femurs to rise up finally. This would get us some crazy uptime on Joe Rogan. This is why like a remake of this game would be like super fun, and at the same time, this is one of those like cases where in the wrong writer's hands, this would be some unhinged shit. You would absolutely have like a Square Enixified or like a Squaresoftified like Joe Rogan trying to like call into the police office, even as like an audio clip, just trying to call in and being like, oh my god, can we get an interview with this eye lady? It's insane. That's crazy. I just read that some researcher at the museum wrote a new theory on them. Sir, I'm taking Aya to go talk to this researcher. Go. Better get there before the media. It may explain the phone call, too. Yes, sir. Come on, Aya. Right. That Japanese researcher he mentioned too, again, sequel to the book, it's taking place in the country. So what we can infer from this case at this point in time is that this researcher is very familiar with this case, or at the very least familiar with the same kind of ongoings, you know, people bursting into flames suddenly, this weird lady on TV ranting about like mitochondria and some lady called Eve. So we can kind of infer he knows what the fuck is up. It's like, oh shit. And it's like, nah, I'm on the first plane tomorrow to tell you all about this shit. So, we're off to the museum, but before we go ahead and do that, we're at another hour. I'm going to take another break to kind of stretch, use the bathroom, but I will be back in another 5.
Cellular DNA. Aliens within ourselves, waiting to strike. Parasite.
The worst foe lies within. Parasite Eve.
Squaresoft. Base station.
Save us! God save us! God save us! Lord, why? Tell me why!
Awake
God, you know it is over! You know it
そして DNA が繰り出す
I am Eve.
God save us, God!
The Cinematic RPG
Parasite Eve. コンビニでデジキューブ Hello. New York. New York.
そして何かが目を覚ます
I am Eve.
The Cinematic RPG
Parasite Eve.
mitochondria began to live silently within our bodies. It seems that the parasites have only to live among us. Or do they?
Cellular DNA. Aliens within ourselves, waiting to strike. Parasite.
The worst foe lies within. Parasite Eve.
Squaresoft. Base station.
Save us! Go!
All right, we're back. Bring the car around, maybe out front. Yeah, the character writing in this too. I can't imagine being like Sakaguchi and Square and everyone else like that around this time, like chomping at the bit to get a hold of this property, because it's like I mentioned earlier, the tagline of like the cinematic RPG, where you really kind of get a feel for the fact like, oh yeah, we get to make something completely new. There's a making of documentary that's on YouTube of, I want to say, them at the Honolulu offices working with the American staff, and even they're kind of amazed at what it is that they're making, realizing like, oh yeah, we actually get to make something that's a little bit more akin to movies at the time, because this is right after the movie for Parasite came out in Japan. I don't know how many of the American developers actually saw it, but I'm sure a lot of the Japanese developers saw it, and realizing that they had an opportunity to make something akin to that with the technology that they had at the time must have been like next levels of excitement, like insane levels of excitement at what it is that they were doing. Helps that they had Resident Evil as an actual like reference point too, but still. Oh, and our overworld map. So, Carnegie Hall is where we were last night. We're headed to the museum. Love the 3D effect on this. Love the fact that they managed to make a pretty decent low poly model of New York. I love this fucking thing. We're going to the Museum of Natural History. Dr. Hans Klomp will be there. Dr. Klomp? I always pronounce this Klomp. I don't know if it's Klomp or Clamp. What's his area of research? Well, according to the papers, he's working on a new theory. Mitochondria something, but it seems to cover the whole genetic spectrum. That's odd. To have a PhD and be working in a museum? Oh, he's pretty antisocial and doesn't like to waste time outside of research. Oh, great. We're gonna have a grand time with this one. Yeah. I know where you're going with this. Just be careful around. Just be careful this time, huh? Are you referring to the press conference? Yeah. Daniel, why do you kiss the chief's butt? Can't say ass yet. You two joined the force at the same time, didn't you? Yeah, but that was years ago. Now he's my boss. Office politics. The American Museum of Natural History. It's been a while since I visited the museum. Dinosaur exhibit. Love these things when I was a kid. Looks like it closed today. Or it's closed today. Well, let's see what that security guard can do for us. Hey there. How you doing? Doing okay. Pretty cold day, though. How about yourself? We're with the NYPD. We're looking for a Dr. Klomp. He works here, doesn't he? Sure does. As a matter of fact, he's right up there in his room right now. Did he do something? Nah, we just want to talk to him, that's all. Thank you. It shouldn't take long. You would think. This is pretty creepy. You find him in the research lab on the second floor. Alright. He's been pretty busy for the past few weeks. Doesn't come out. Ever. Thanks. Well, let's explore around a little bit. Oh, by the way, could you sign in? It's policy. Let's just keep track of who's coming in. Thanks, Aya. Gee, Daniel, you sure don't want to run down? You sure you don't want to run down here and do it all by yourself? Notebook's on the counter. Thanks. Awesome. Well, before we do that, save. I'm wondering if now is the time we should actually consult the strategy guide. Because I don't remember there being any hidden areas in here, but that's kind of part of the problem, and I don't remember. Just my name? That should be enough, unless you want to leave your number too. God, bro, everybody is horny for Aya. I get it, man. But like, you can't be doing that. Something, different time, yada yada. I mean, on the one hand, but also, yeah, it's like, I get it. She's very, very pretty. But she also can't be doing that. She's kind of here on work, but, like, buddy. You know what? Let's check it out. Hold on. Let's actually take a look at the strategy guide and see like how good of a job it actually did in explaining shit. Let's take a look at this. Alright, so we got Carnegie Hall, right? Rat, Parrot, Eve. Run around. You can make Aya run around by holding the. I'm assuming this is the actual like analog stick, because I don't remember there being a run button in this game. That's the menu. Yeah, no, it's just the analog stick. E40. Yeah, we had the strategy guide, so maybe scan isn't too bad. You started out setting fireworks by your house? On September 13th? Sewers, inventory problems. Oh, yeah, it shows us everything. So, yeah, this is super detailed. So, we might use this on actually if we are missing anything, like after we go through areas, because I don't want to completely give away everything that we're missing. Or everything that's in, like, every level. I know that's the point of a strategy guide, but still. And granted, I know, but right, the museums. Yeah, and actually, Sirius, you did point this out, the Chocobo cameo. It's like the banner on the front. There's a sneaky little FF reference there, which I forgot to point out. Always gotta sneak it in. Multiple of those. You're gonna have to point them out to me because I actually forgot where a lot of them are. Hey, Aya, over here. Does this give us? It doesn't. For some reason, I keep thinking like, or I thought if we walked up to that, it would actually give us an indication of it. No, they didn't get that detailed. Hey, it's open. Let's check it out. Oh, there's a cactuar? Yeah, we're out to see if we can find it. Excuse me. Hello? Hey. I'm gonna call him Dr. Clamp. Dr. Clamp. Dr. Clamp. I hear you. We're with the NYPD. We'd like to ask you a few questions. Uh-huh. Bro, it's researching. Professor, we're looking for clues concerning the incident which occurred. Are you accusing me? He is guilty. Not Dr. Hojo. You know what? It might be. Might also be hallucinating like usual, but I feel like one of those games is a cactuar somewhere. Yeah, true. And Parasite Eve 2 does straight up just give you a gunblade, and it's like, yeah, we made FF8. I might be crazy too. I think it's the same model that they use in FF8 too. It's the fucked up part. I might have just been like, fuck it here. It's funny that you bring up Hojo too, Sirius, because you can kind of see a little bit in where like the 3D modeling. This is a lot more realistic than FF7 is because they still go for like the chibi kind of style of models. But you can definitely tell by the faces it's the earliest interpretation that they have of like Nomura's art in 3D. So it's very, very similar in terms of style. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was a lot of overlap. Funny enough, the other game that actually utilizes or was supposed to be like kind of the basis for FF7 was Xenogears around the same time that this came out. I think it came out later on in 98. So it's really cool that they did end up using like all of the parts of the animal, so to speak, and sort of like realize all the ideas that they had for it with FF7 money. What? This again? What is this? Oh god, my head. This man. I know him, I think. Mm. What's wrong? Are you okay, Aya? No. Yeah. We'd like to ask you about the mitochondria research you've been doing. NYPD, huh? Why are you interested in my work? Why are you so guarded about your work? The suspect mentioned that the mitochondria would be set free. Now, do you... That suspect ignited people without laying a finger on them. Then transformed into some kind of creature and ran off. Since she mentioned mitochondria, we were hoping you could supply us with some info. You two have absolutely no idea what the true mitochondria is like. Do you? Or do you? I probably should have. The mitochondria possesses its own unique genetic code. Its own. Are you saying it's a separate organism? Precisely. Kind of like a parasite or something. He said it. Parasite? That's an interesting way of describing this most fascinating creature. We cannot live without the mitochondria. Do you understand? Mitochondria creates energy for us. Without it, we're nothing. Yeah, like some sort of Parasite for the PlayStation 1 released in 1998 by Squaresoft. It was the original line, but they ran out of space on the disc. We are here because the mitochondria allows us to be here. Our brain, for example. I love the fucking look they give each other like, this dude is off his gourd. I don't know what this dude's talking about. The brain functions due to the interactions between axons and dendrites. This interaction is possible due to the energy the mitochondria provides. Did you know the mitochondria is capable of discharging 200,000 volts of electricity? This not only pertains to electrical discharge, but also applies to heat energy as well. Heat? Then the combustions last night were... For human to burn and melt, 1600 degrees of heat must be generated. There are several hundred mitochondria present within a single cell. If all the mitochondria in the body began functioning at the same time, a tremendous amount of energy would be generated and released. Melting a human into a puddle of fluid would be a simple task with so much energy. So you're saying that the mitochondria ignited these people? Professor, you may be right in that we need the mitochondria to live. But in the end, we're just using them for energy, right? You have no idea. The mitochondria has control over an organism's growth. Take this hand, for example. Before we're born, the hand is merely a glob of flesh. But when cells between the fingers deteriorate, that's when the fingers first form. When the cells which make up the body aren't needed anymore, it receives a signal to die. This signal is initiated by the mitochondria. When it's relayed, the genetic information in the nucleus is cut off and, in essence, dies. The same can be said for aging. Mitochondria mutates 10 times faster than cells. Of course, this also applies to mutant forms of mitochondria as well. When too many mutant mitochondria multiply, energy production level decreases. Decrease in energy production is associated with the aging process. So, are you still stupid enough to say that we are the highest... let me read that. So, are you still stupid enough to say that we are the higher species? But you're not saying that the mitochondria is doing all this consciously, right? When I said that the mitochondria can mutate 10 times faster than normal cells, I also meant that they could evolve at a rate 10 times faster. Since the beginning of creation, the mitochondria has been evolving at this rate. It's no surprise if they possess the power, or power beyond our cognition. No surprise at all. Let me tell you something. There was a scientist who tried to determine the mutation rate of mitochondria. With this, the scientist wanted to establish a connection with human ancestry. In 1987, it was all announced that the root of all humans can be traced to a single woman in Africa. This finding was announced around the world, and with this, the mitochondrial theory spread like wildfire. You know what they call the root of it all? Mitochondria Eve. Splendid name. Just incredible. Eve? The suspect in yesterday's case called herself Eve. What? Hey, if you know anything, you better not be holding back on us. She called herself Eve? Sorry, but I've told you what I know. I'd like to return to my studies now. I believe you know the way out. Hey, you better give us an explanation of what the hell is going on here. Daniel, forget it. Let's just go. God damn it. I bet that one woman in Africa had to be in order to be traced back to the root of all humans. I mean, that is true. Like, that did actually happen. Where it's just like, yeah, our common ancestor. Like I mentioned earlier, you can definitely tell from that scene that they were really trying to hold true to, like, Senna's writing of going on very, very long tangents about, you know, the scientific backing of it. Because that is part of the actual, like, symbiotic theory. Let's head back to NYPD. But no, that is an actual, like, part of the theory. The idea that mitochondria or cellular, different parts of the cell are so powerful and so important on their own that, yeah, it could be like an actual theory that they were at one point their own individual organisms that just decided to form together to form a greater whole. And it was a very interesting theory at the time of, like, well, if we can all come from different ancestors or a common ancestor and branch off, then wouldn't the parts that make us up also be able to do the exact same thing? Like, could it be possible that actually happened? And possibly, yeah, but I do think, like, part of the charm and part of the horror aspect of it is the fact that we're just not in control. To where, like, that's part of why shit like this is going on. And it does give credence, too, to the whole bursting in the flames thing. Also, welcome. What the hell is wrong with that guy? I can't stand him. That man. I've seen him before, but I can't remember where. It's Daniel. What? Okay, we'll be right there. I don't hate you. I know who you are too. It's like, I don't hate you. I don't hate anybody. Alright, it looks like we got a break in the case. What? We gotta get back to the station, Aya. Hang on, I'm kicking this into turbo. New York City Police Department, 17th Precinct. I believe you can drive that fast and clear in NYC. Yeah, I know. Probably the most unrealistic part of this whole game. Bursting into flames, I can totally believe. Traffic not being a thing in New York, nah. I ain't behind it for a second. There we go. Yeah, any news on the case? Hope you bag this creep soon. I'd hate to bump into him on the street. You know, like I was saying, like, the fact that they were able to, and Senna was able to like rationalize so many different powers in such a realistic way, like by breaking them down into logical scientific theories, was a very common trope of the 90s and of the time, and it was a very interesting way of doing horror. Now, here's the thing: I have heard some people say that they actually don't really like that as a part of horror because it does kind of like take away the mystique of what's going on. I think it adds a huge layer, honestly, of horror by breaking it down into theory and grounding it by being like, oh no, this in theory could possibly happen. You have to remember too, like the 90s was the era of like the Human Genome Project. Like we were mapping out different parts of the body. We were making like huge scientific strides at the time, to the point where people were kind of amazed of what we were able to achieve, like just as a species. So it makes sense to kind of put the fear of that, of like, oh, well, what happens if we go too far, right? And it's always been the kind of common trope of humanity, even going back to like monster movies of the 50s, like think about Frankenstein, where it's just like, oh yeah, I'm sure in the future we could definitely like have a being that we end up like creating that's just this huge abomination, like this monster. And so being at the point in time where we were kind of on the, it seemed like we were on the cusp of that, it makes sense that a lot of people would kind of view that as a actually horrifying like idea and concept, because your average person isn't going to know what the fuck the scientific theory is, but it sounds right coming from someone that knows what they're talking about. Say it works for the story. I asked my teacher if we would ever be set on fire and melt into a puddle of fluid. Exactly. It's like at the time, yeah, it freaks people out. The whole place is going nuts. Wonder what happened. So we got a breakthrough in the case. Let's see what's going on. Let's go, folks. We're in the middle of starting the meeting. Let's see what we got. Melissa's solo concert was scheduled for today. She had disappeared after last night's incident. The concert was canceled. But people are still gathering at the stage. We must not let another massacre happen again. The concert is at the Central Park Amphitheater. Central Park? What is it, Daniel? Ben and Lorraine. They're at that concert. What? Yeah. Daniel, we're not through yet. Screw you, Baker. My son's in danger. Daniel. Aya. Watch his back. Yes, sir. Another mod permit. Ruh-roh. Should we use that mod permit now? That's a good question. You know what? Let's go ahead and do that. Can't hurt. When are you gonna let me tune up the guns? I didn't ask to be assigned over here to watch over the warehouse, you know? All day, you know? As long as you see guns as toys, you'll never touch them. Hey, I know I can make a stronger gun than you. Guns aren't supposed to be stronger, you numbskull. They're supposed to be safer. Fine, you geezer. Real moral case here, yeah? Sorry, I didn't mean to make a scene. But that goes for you too. You can never be too careful with a gun. You have an equipment modification permit with you? Sure do. Which gun? You know, we have a lot of ammo for this, and I feel like it might be good to level this up now. You know what? No, because I'm gonna leave this in storage, and here's why. I think we're gonna get another item or another weapon. I can easily turn that gun into a cannon. Easy. Wanna leave something here? Yeah, we're gonna leave this in storage, and I think the reason why is because I want to say that we get another item or another weapon later on, and so I think it's better if we use it on that. Unless I secretly like screwed myself over. Yeah, another medicine one. But I doubt it. I think we should be fine. Yo, B-Man, what's up? Yeah, thanks for jumping in. D. Most normal cop. Hey, in fairness, his son is in danger, man. Like, you hear, like, yeah, your son and your ex-wife are at this park where, like, this terrorist is supposed to be, like, you're the actual suspect. I'm booking it. I don't give a fuck how full the streets are. Everyone better get the fuck off the sidewalk. What the hell does Melissa... No. Eve want from us? Well, it looks like she wants people to gather in this one big area. Damn. That thing's got my boy involved. She's gonna pay for this. Let's hurry. Just hang in there, Ben. I'm coming for you. Yeah, book it. Central Park. I appreciate everyone jumping in, by the way, and hanging out with me tonight. It's a fun fucking game, and I'm glad I get to share it with people. Ben! Daniel, stop. I've got to get my boy, Rookie. Whoa. Sometimes you gotta look before you leap, old timer. Yeah, she's got sass. I don't care if I burn. I'll go. Ben's my son. He's the only family I've got. Damn it. I can't do anything. Leave it to me. Well, but... I'll get them out safe. I promise. Besides, Ben needs you. You won't do him any good if you're dead. Alright. I'm counting on you, Aya. I know. Central Park? Yeah, like I said, Daniel's not a bad guy at all. He is very, very, very much... he's a good guy. He's just, you know... It's tough. Bro's busy. As a cop, trying his best to do the best job he can. He's passionate, exactly, yeah. It's like he's not a bad guy. He's just very much into his work, and unfortunately, he also is kind of splitting time between like wanting to be there for his son is a strong verb, but like be a part of his son's life because he just does not trust his ex-wife. And I think anybody can understand that, but sometimes you realize you just can't do both. And Aya is a rookie cop. It's like, I imagine this is like one of her first couple of cases. It's insane that out of all cases, like, this is one of the first that you get. Oh, we didn't equip the new gun, by the way. These things. Their attack pattern is a little bit weird because they chase after you. I like to do that shit. There we go. The big guy down, the small guy shouldn't be too big of a problem, but they like to follow you. There we go. And Naya shaking hands at the most unlucky cop convention. Yeah, exactly. There we go. Another round of ammo and medicine. Yeah, let's go ahead and switch our gun out. Now, we don't have a lot of ammo for this thing, but hopefully we'll find some and another weapon while we're at it. They even had to fight alligators in the sewers. Yeah. Now here's a question for you. I think Aya could survive in Resident Evil 2, but could Leon survive with what he's got in Parasite Eve? It's something to think about. Yeah, exactly. It's like, without knowing, with what he's got, no. He's getting set on fire at Carnegie Hall. Exactly, yeah. Like, let's just take the fact that Aya has these powers just into consideration already. Let's go ahead and take that off the table. The enemies that you face, it's like, I don't know, man. Yeah, good damage. Junk, which I think if we turn in enough of those, we get something. I just can't remember what it is. Another tool. It's like, you could make a case that Leon in 4 might be able to handle it. I don't know how he would necessarily deal with the issue of, like, you know, Eve was here. Yeah. I don't know how he would deal with the overall threat of, like, shit like this going down, but inventory is full. So I wonder what we got in there. Nothing I can really toss out right now either. Let's take a look. It doesn't say on the strategy guide, but I didn't mean to walk that way either. Oh, look. Can I not? There we go. Or onward, he's probably got a chance if he's not already getting set on fire. You know, probably be okay in PE too. Yeah, Parasite Eve 2, definitely. I think he would definitely be able to handle it. Because, like, the threats in Parasite Eve 2 aren't, like, the worst, but it's pretty equal across the board, I think. Like, the power scaling definitely goes down versus this game. replace Kyle with Leon and we're golden. Yeah. I think if you put him... Yeah, if you definitely put him in that situation, like, he's definitely winning. Parasite, the third birthday, I don't know, because that game relies so heavily on, like, the powers that Aya has. Granted, she's given those, so maybe a difference of power in that regard. Third birthday. Yeah. But I think he'd work out. Now, RE6 Leon, he's surviving easily. I'm trying to think about what game I would get power scaled out on. I'm gonna say Resident Evil 5 off the top of my head. I might be wrong, but that feels about right. I think her capabilities really just start kind of getting, like, when you start thinking about, like, the powers that Wesker has, I think you're really kind of up Shit's Creek, where it's just like, okay, at best you're equal, at worst you're getting, like, scaled out. I get it, Parasite Energy is powerful, but, like, that's a whole nother ball game. He would have defeated Burner before it even reached town. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I was gonna try to argue against that at first. I was like, I don't know, but no, thinking about it, like, especially how he plays later on, no, he would definitely handle it. It kind of sucks too, because it's just like the fact that this is licensed. I would have really loved to see a point in time where there was some sort of crossover, where, like, Parasite became, like, a huge part of, like, Square's lineup and its IP, and you got, like, a cool, like, crossover. Because I think they really could have, like, done a whole lot with, like, a survival horror franchise, and they kept trying over time, where it's just like, yeah, you see things where they really wanted to go more into, like, third-person shooter and action type of gameplay. And they were trying to find something to replace it. Because granted, it's not, I wouldn't necessarily count this as survival horror, but does anyone remember Mindjack from, like, 2011? They were really trying to push that as one of their big, like, third-person shooter IPs that they picked up. And it turns out that the game was just, like, less than great. We'll put it like that. It was really bad. I'd say it's a horror. Yeah, exactly. Progenitor mitochondria hybrid vector, yeah. The survival horror game cinematic universe. Listen, like, genuinely, I think that if you had more of them, if they had been successful and held on, you would definitely have that. I can't see, like, Capcom saying no to shit like that, you know? Like, yeah, sure, we'll do a crossover game. They were willing to do it with a lot of their other, like, properties. Look at their fighting game division. I know it makes more sense in that, but it would have been cool. What you want is Project X Zone 2. Yes, and I've been saying that forever. Both of us have been saying that forever. Hey, like, even, what was it? On the top of my head. They had another crossover I'm thinking of at one point. Like, no, genuinely, I think that you could have, I think they could have done something with that. And I think it would have been a really nice little crossover. But then again, it's like, we could go on and on about, like, IPs that Capcom and Square should have done more with. But no, you definitely get a feel, like I said, for this game in terms of them wanting to really experiment and create a new type of RPG, and they definitely did that. I just wish they had stuck with it. But we'll get more into that next time. I'm going to actually go ahead and stop here for now because I am getting hungry. I'm going to go ahead and eat and rest a little bit. But I want to say that for a first going, this was actually super, super fun. I really enjoyed this, and I love this game to death. I'm glad I get to share it with everybody. We'll do more, I want to say, maybe around, let's say Monday. I want to do more. But no, I really appreciate everyone hanging out with me. I appreciate everyone, Austin especially. I appreciate the Prime and the bits. Appreciate everyone following. Everybody who is new to join in. Hope you all will enjoy going through this game with me and much more. But I'm gonna go ahead and end it off here. It was late but fun stream. Hey, no problem, man. But yeah, y'all take it easy and be easy and have a good night.